Hey, I'm just going to do a quick video on this thing real quick, all right? So you did this activity today. It says ecosystem interactions. A couple reminders. This step one right here to me didn't really make any sense, so we sort of skipped it, right? You all just grabbed a bag that had one of these ecosystems in it. So you had the African grassland uh, or the Antarctic food web, all right, or the forest food web, or the desert food web. Okay, if you're absent and you need to collect any of this information, you should, figure it out. This might be a little tough, so if you need to look at the cards later, I can loan you those, all right? But quick explanation, you got desert, again, forest, marine, or African grassland. So we got four different like ecosystems that we were looking at, all right? So from there, you were then given scenarios, and these scenarios, some people thought you were like matching up, like, oh, this one it says rain pattern, that one's gonna go to like the marine or something like that. That's not what you were supposed to do. STEMscopes believes that any of these scenarios, okay, one, two, three, or four, would go to any of the ecosystems. So rain producing heavy storms causing floodwaters, that could be for the African grassland or the marine or the forest, right? It could be for any. So what you were supposed to do is just choose whichever one you wanted to do, all right, and then see how it affects the ecosystem that you cards that you got. All right, so that's the scenario there. All right, so you got your ecosystem. You write down forest or African grassland, and then you are supposed to draw your food chain down here. All right, now something that sort of concerns me that I want to make sure you all are doing correctly is your food chains for many, and I tried to catch as I think I got almost every group so far today. Something that concerns me is your food chains are not looking like the one here from your STEMscopedia notes. Okay, so if you didn't do it that way, oops, come on, where is it? If you didn't do it this way or something like this, then you're not really making a food. I guess it's a food web. I don't know why they said food chain. A food web. All right. So the main thing I'm seeing is people are not using arrows. Okay. So the point of the arrows is to show where the energy is flowing. So all the energy comes from the sun and goes into the producers. They collect it via photosynthesis. Then the producers, right, they get eaten by the primary consumers. Okay, and the primary consumers get eaten by the secondary consumers, and any secondary consumers get eaten by tertiary consumers. There is also quaternary. It's just levels: first, primary; second, secondary; third, tertiary; fourth, quaternary. All right, and then the one weird one, the dung beetle right here, that is a decomposer. So it's not like a dung beetle is going to go and attack and eat a giraffe. That's not what it's saying. It's just saying that the dung beetle, when anything dies, it breaks down and decomposes those for nutrients instead. So it just eats dead and decaying organic matter. All right. So the thing that I notice people are missing are the arrows, or your arrows are backwards. So the arrow needs to point from the sun to the tree, sun to the grass, grass to the zebra, zebra to the lion, etc., etc., etc. If you're doing it the other way, you're saying that the lion's energy goes into the zebra eats the lion somehow, or the zebra's energy goes into the grass eats the zebra somehow. So the arrows are important. If you used words to describe it, you should explain that. The energy is flowing from the sun to the tree, from the tree to the giraffe. If you just wrote sun, tree, giraffe, what the heck? Don't know what that's talking about. Okay? Um, so that's what you were supposed to do there. All right. So now a lot of them are really straightforward. Okay. How would you be affected by this, or how would your organisms be affected by the scenario? If there's floods, what would happen? How would it affect it overall? So just what are you thinking? All right. Now this has been throwing people off. A right here. How did it change when the abiotic factors changed? To me, that is basically the scenario. The four scenarios here, they all look like abiotic factors. So you're just describing what happens when these changes occur. Okay, so immediately, what's going to happen? Put it right there for um, A. Then it says what happens when the biotic factors change. So you're supposed to be looking at sort of butterfly effect-ish, cause and effect. So if this abiotic factor causes some kind of change in your biotic factors, these organisms here, then what's going to happen when those biotic factors change. That's what B is asking. So when the biotic factors then change as a result of A, what's going to happen? So it's just looking for more domino effect type stuff. Okay. C, the key here is cycling back. So those of you that are like, oh, if this is bad, the biotic factors die. So if the biotic factors die, then everything dies. You're wrong. That's not the way that it works. Okay, if some part of these biotic factors die, this cycling back idea, right? Like somehow the ecosystem won't just flat out outright die. Explain that right there. Predict how it would cycle back. How is it that the populations are going to increase? Some of you are like, oh, well, when there's no longer a drought. Okay, well, explain that. Or what if there is a continued drought? Okay, what if there is a very, very limited amount of water? I would still see some cycling back. So you need to think about that. Okay, you used to get, I don't know, 20 inches of rainfall in a year. What if you now have 3 inches of rainfall? Is everything going to just die? No, there's still 3 inches of rainfall. So what would it look like after it cycles back a little bit, when it bounces back? Okay. D, this has been my concern, natural systems. We're talking about a naturally occurring like ecosystem that's been affected by human practices. This is very similar to the competition concentration question. Again, just how do the cycles and processes, how does the ecosystem get altered based on like what humans do to it? Okay, and then in the long term, what happens to ecosystems because of human interactions with them. I'll give you a hint for E. I don't think it's always necessarily bad, okay? Please don't just write everything dies. That's not really true. There are other possible outcomes, okay? So everything dies is like the lazy, easy way out. All right, anyway, send me questions if you're not sure, okay? And then, yeah, we'll collect this thing tomorrow. Okay, bye.